I need to understand um, hmm, about Ableton and my struggles with it. And I just thought I'd explain a few things to anybody who's tuning in. Uh, Ableton, when you first come across it, is really, really complicated, really, really complex. But when you decide to dive into it, as it were, it's got it's relatively straightforward. The only thing that differs it from GarageBand and Logic Pro is the fact that, first of all, you have to work out what kind of setting you want it on. I usually find Ableton Live works well with a setting. The show you just now is kind of like this. If you've never used Ableton before, it's extremely, it's kind of weird when you first look at it. First thing you need to do is look at all. If you can't find anything, always go to all, and then you'll be able to find everything you need. And then sometimes you go to sounds, sometimes you won't find what you need, but they're all there. There's so many to look for. Sorry, there's so many to look from. It's fairly straightforward to look at those sounds. You've got drums there, and it'll give you what you want. Okay. And instruments as well. You kind of have to move this like this. You can do that. Um, if you just have like a Mac, usually it works better than a PC because the sound card is better. I always think it has been for as long as I've known how to use Macs. Um, and the audio effects here, you've got all these. There's a lot, and you can do a lot with these to kind of create your own sound, the individual sound that you want. Usually, what kind of what this live thing is about really is about, I'm actually leaving, where I am, moving out in a month. And what I did was I sold my turntables. Well, not my, I keep calling them turntables because I used to DJ a long time ago with record decks. But the thing is that I'm selling them. So I've got to sell them to go somewhere else that I'm going to work. So they are really, really heavy to carry because they were XDJ RX2s, and they're really, really heavy. They're like 30, what is it? 30, 30 kilos. 30 kilos with one, the XDJs were 30 kilos. So this is pretty much, your DJ gear. I decided to get rid of it because the DJ gear was too heavy and it allowed me to concentrate on music production in a big way. So all in all, with that, it's allowed me to have really, really look at, my talent as a musician and to create pieces of music, the best I can. So my kind of setup here on Ableton here is I've got a MIDI track, which is 1, MIDI 2, audio 3, audio 4. So what that means is that when you're looking at audio 4, and sorry, you're looking at audio tracks. Audio tracks are things that you can sample. You can sample these things off a variety of different things. You can download tracks and you can actually put them in the sample lane, which is what these call. So the 3 and 4 are the third and the fourth lane. And you can drag in what is called as a reference track into that. So if you download a track off Spotify and you put it in there, you can play that track whilst you create your own piece of music, which is really good because you kind of want to sort of flip between the two things. You want to find a track that you really, really love to do, and you want to put that in there, and you want to sort of listen to it. It helps you understand it much more rather than going back and forth and saying, hang on a minute, where was that bit? Where was it? It's in your project. It's in Ableton, which is really, really great about Ableton. So what a MIDI is it's called a musical instrument digital interface. So that at the top there, it says MIDI, instrument digital interface. And what that is that that comes from these these things at the side here, your instruments. So if you take a simpler or sampler or drums, say this, and you drag it in here, you have to kind of draw it in to start with. So that's actually a little bit difficult. But if you have an audio track, that usually comes in by a version of a sampler. Sorry, a sample. It's a sample. Okay, so you get that from um, a website called Splice. Splice has got a lot of samples that you can download that people have created and sold. So that's the reason why they're on Splice. They're on Splice, and you could get a subscription for probably about $35 to $40 for a year. And that will, if you're going to get into it, it's worth having. I mean, obviously, the more money you put into this, the more you know you're going to get more from it. Um, Working with Ableton and working with any music software is very addictive. So if you start, then you often spend half an hour or even 2 hours, depending on how much of time you have. The amount of time you spend on it, you can spend up to like 3 hours on one particular project, one track that you're composing, without realizing where the time goes. So the other day I was working on something and it was light outside, and then I stopped working on it and I realized it was dark outside. That's really common. So it is addictive. So I haven't done this yet. I haven't got a monitor. Um, so if you are going to do it, it's ideal getting a kind of like a monitor that is like head height or even higher. So it works for you ergonomically, because if you're crouching over a computer screen for 3 hours, you're going to feel it in the morning, especially if you're over 40 like I am. I am. So if you're going to really get into it, it's really good. Basically, having the computer up here, even higher, really. So it's worth investing in your health, really. So that's something I'm going to look into doing. But at the moment, I don't have that. It's okay, because I don't like to work on it a lot of the time. I just like to do mainly about half an hour. But if you do half an hour a day, you're going to end up doing like about an hour on music technology a day. Um, I have a name which is my name's Richard. I work in music production. I work in teaching people how to play the piano. I teach jazz improvisation. I DJ, and I've done performances all over the world over the last kind of like 10, 15 years. Really, I've been active. But I'm just getting down to producing. I'm on SoundCloud now, and I've been doing that for the past kind of like 3 months. Um, so I follow quite a lot of people on Instagram as well. So I look into creating music, and it does take time, because the real deal is beginning to mix, and it's also you need to understand how to master your tracks as well. That takes some time as well. But over the first thing you need to do is really buy into Ableton Live, because I believe it's the best digital audio workstation that you can have, and it's also the most versatile you can have. Pro Tools is also very good, but that's more used with film production and television and media. But it is very good. A lot of my students use Pro Tools to record their projects and send them away for examination purposes. Yeah. So the other digital audio workstation that is good is also GarageBand, Logic Pro. You can do a lot of things with GarageBand. You can record professional mixes with GarageBand. You can do professional stuff with Logic Pro, as long as you got the plugins to go with it. they're the things that are expensive. They can cost like about up to like maybe £200 for like about 4 or 5 plugins, but those will allow your sound to be louder. They will allow it to be cleaner. They will allow it to be much more polished than some of the early mixes that I released on my SoundCloud account. Um, Mainly, what I use my SoundCloud account for is to always remember that I want each track that I'm doing to get better each time. Good to have you here. Always good to have people here. I'm doing a lot more speaking and tuition and discussing what music technology can bring, because I haven't done a video for a while, and I think it's I think it's important to kind of like keep the kind of like the musical understanding going, um, rather than doing meaningless, hours and hours of sets on my controller. Because at the end of the day, I'm DJing other people's music. One thing I also would give any producer the advice is you need to listen to different styles of music. If you don't like certain styles of music, for example, take one instance. I don't like Americana. I don't like that type of music at all. But the way in which it's produced, the way in which it's organized, the way in which it's structured, and the way in which the sound of it kind of rolls, kind of like over me a little bit, helps me to understand how I can apply that kind of sound in my music as well. So it's really, really important as a producer to listen to lots of different styles, even as you don't like them. Me being a music teacher, it's easy to do that because I teach music and I always deal with music, in particular. But I do listen to house music pretty much all the time. Um, so, I mean, I'm working on a track at the moment. It's going to be released in a week, so watch out for that. Um, it's called Carlos Acosta. Carlos Acosta was a ballerina, so I don't quite know why I named it after him, but it just felt right. I like to name things after certain people. It kind of like is my vibe at the a minute because um, I've never been able to dance very well. Never. And I remember seeing a particular piece of film. I saw him dance, and I thought it was incredible. He was insane. So I kind of like dedicated that piece of music to him. There's another piece of music that I've got on my SoundCloud account called Pooley's Mouse, and that's dedicated to Ian Pooley, the DJ who I used to listen to when I was quite young. He's got an album. He had an album out called Meridian, and it was brilliant. Really, really interesting stuff, but very minimal as well. So with that, I think for a first time producer, it's very, very important to get the basics right. Understand your software, play around with it. You don't have to play with it around with it for long. Don't feel as though you should be kind of like, don't force the issue. Don't think, right, I've got to do this today. I've got to sit down today. If you feel like it, do it. If you don't. If you don't enjoy it, then all I can say is I think at least you tried. At least you had a go, even on that day. But usually when I sit down, I usually feel as though it's going to be a long a long session because it usually is. But if there are any things that you need to know about Ableton, then just put them in the comments whenever I do live streams. I'm going to be doing them probably once a week, and I'll be giving you a couple of tips. I rather do it through this channel than do it through Instagram, but maybe in a week I'll be doing it through TikTok too. So thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll keep producing and hope you will too. Take care.